Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Window Chats with Robyn. We have Chris James. He will be coming on as soon as Instagram decides to let everyone know I started a live video. Yay! Random facts to kill some time. I was thinking about The Bachelor the other day, and I had a thought of life after The Bachelorette or The Bachelor. And if they just follow them in mundane situations and they wonder, like, wait, honey, why don't you love me anymore? Why don't you create like a giant Ferris wheel in the middle of nowhere or take me in a hot air balloon? And then they're like, oh, wait, I don't know if I really like you or the fact that we had these awesome dates that everyone else paid for. So maybe they should set the bar low on The Bachelor. I'm just saying, like have a little date where it's like a really crappy restaurant and then you go from there. That's just a thought. And that's why I'm not producing The Bachelor. Because, yeah. That was a pretty interesting one, and I wish I could not have said that. But that's how it works with live Instagrams. Da, 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 da. Okay, let's try and invite Chris. Is he on? Oh, I saw him for like a second. I see him. Okay. Huh? Oh. I always get so excited when these work. Oh, let me put my headphones in.
Yeah.
Hi!
Hi, how are you?
I'm okay. How are you? Thanks for doing this.
No problem. I'm happy to do it. Happy to be asked to do anything during the pandemic.
You've been so busy. I don't know what you're saying. Every time I look, I'm like, okay, so he's doing workouts, and now he has this whole, like, really, what was it, like an animation thing you made? It was so cool with your,
Yeah.
that was awesome.
Yeah, I've been working on a few different vlog series. I learned to do some animation to go with my motion graphics skills, and I put it together, and I'm making a couple of vlog series on different subjects. Like one is for organization and marketing yourself as an artist or an entrepreneur, and then there's another one that's going to be an environmental series, and I do a couple one-offs. One was how to do like a DIY setup for the best Zoom audition or video conference in general, and then there was another one that was focused on creating a culture and a community of support for people going through mental health struggles at the time. So they all focus on different things, but it's a lot of fun and it keeps me busy. Yeah.
I love how I'm like, that's, I watch Netflix, you create things. We both stay busy in different ways.
No, but you're doing this. Yeah, I mean, I am very entertained by the window chats with Robyn. Yeah, I've caught a couple. I caught the one with Gabby was really entertaining.
She's so sweet. Oh my,
She's the best. Yeah.
But it's just fun to randomly chat, and then you realize people are watching. So I don't like to think about it. So
Yeah.
I'm ignoring. I randomly ramble until people come on. It was not good this morning, so we're just gonna fast forward past that. And no, I just love connecting with people. And I was thinking about how I met you, and I started laughing because I knew you as the person who filmed Fiddler on the Roof for CYP, City Player. Shout out to Megan and Wayne. And then I just saw you everywhere after you were at Statler's, and then you're playing Rocky, and then you're at like your posters on Rapier Wit, or how do you pronounce that? That was a serious question.
Rapier Wit, yeah, that's correct.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
A little, you changed the name.
Like Rapier and Dagger.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just so it's Rapier, just to clarify.
Yeah.
Some people might not. I didn't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, but you're everywhere. You're doing things. It's awesome.
I mean, it's always funny when you hear your life described by someone else. That's always hilarious to me because I just hop from one thing to another, and I never see it in the macro. I never see it from the outside looking in as a whole. Yeah. And it's it's always funny when someone else makes me stop and look at my life from the outside. It's interesting. Yeah, I do tend to get around.
In a good way. I'm trying to.
In a good way.
It's driving me nuts. Fine. But so what was your, like, when I was looking at your website and you're like, and that's what I do. I label myself, here's like 5 things that I do well. And I didn't even know you were a voice actor. And so, like, that's so cool.
Yeah, I've been leaning more into that. I just got my voice agent at I want to say at the end of 2018.
Okay.
2018, and then I started doing some voice auditions, and I've done like three voice commercials now. But like I have way more voice auditions now than I do regular auditions. I might do like 1 or 2 on-camera auditions a week, and I'll have like 5 voice auditions just back to back to back to back.
What do you prefer though? Because lately I don't feel like getting dressed up for auditions anymore. So when I get a voice one, I'm like, yes.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I do love the ease of a voice audition. I don't have to set up my camera. I don't have to set up any lights. I don't have to worry about wardrobe. I just have to do a vocal warm up, read the description, and then go to it. Yeah.
The warm-ups tend to be neglectful, but yes, they do help.
Yeah.
Do warm-ups. I'm like,
always do a warm-up. Even if it's like one line, I had to force myself to like get into that habit. Even if it's one line, I do a full vocal warm-up. I mean, I try to do a full vocal warm-up every day. I just set aside 12 minutes and I do a full vocal warm-up every day. I have this pre-recorded MP3 that I just press play on, and then it guides me through breath warm-up, a singing warm-up, and then a speaking warm-up. And it's so handy. I just press play and I just do what it says for 12 minutes, and then I'm done, and then I go about my day. I don't do it every day. I want to, but it's hard to find the motivation to do a vocal warm-up when you have no auditions. So
we should have totally done one right now and just made this
right?
a vocal warm-up. But we're talking, we're warming up.
Yeah. Yeah. Agata, igata, agata, ugata.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I don't know that one, but that's fun. I'm like tip of the tongue kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah.
I love that you spent 12 minutes on that though. I'm like, I don't know. I did like a couple trills. I went up and down my voice, and here we go. And then
that's the beauty of having it like a pre-recorded one. I combined 3 different vocal warm-ups that I found to get an overhaul like overall comprehensive warm-up. And I know that it's exactly 11 minutes and 48 seconds.
Whoa.
So, yeah. So I just press play. I give myself, because it's pre-recorded, I give myself that much time in my schedule before I'm going to do an audition, and I know that I'll be fully warmed up.
I'm very motivated now because I was going to jump into a thing after this. I'm like, no, now I have to warm up because Chris has his thing. I get motivated from people I talk to. That's why I'm doing this. I'm like, I don't feel like doing much today, but they're motivating me, and I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can share I can send you my MP3 if you ever want to. I can make it available to you. It's pretty basic. Yeah, breath, singing, and then vowels and consonants. But for anyone who wants a guided warm up, I'll send it out.
It's like a better version of guided meditation kind of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like guided meditation.
Well, some of the meditations, and I'm always trying to try new things. And some of the meditations, I just think people should not be instructors. And I say that because when I hear their voice, it does not calm me down.
It doesn't calm you down?
Me out. Like, hello, we're going to relax now. And I'm like, oh, God, what is happening? It's terrifying.
It's like a guided meditation with Gilbert Gottfried. Right.
That being said, I would listen to that, but
I would listen to that.
It would be just
not to relax, no, just to laugh.
I love that idea so much. Oh, that's fun. There must be something out there. That's a voice. When I think of voice actors, I'm like that. I don't even know if he's actually a specific voice actor or just has an awesome voice, but that's
well. I mean, he did some. But we know that he did voice acting for Aladdin, for Iago the parrot in Aladdin. For the cartoon, not the newest version.
Oh, no, I didn't.
I don't even remember if that parrot had a voice. Did it?
I don't know. Did the monkey have a voice? Did Abu?
I think it was just squeaks.
Oh.
Squeaks. But Abu was always just squeaks.
Yeah, that's true. But they were very specific squeaks. Like, that must have been such a weird audition to listen to. If you're casting for Abu, that's the squeak we want.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think of that. Well, I don't know. Did you watch Nancy Cartwright's masterclass?
Did I watch it? I think so. I've watched a lot of masterclasses during the pandemic. Last year in 2020, I watched a lot. That's Bart Simpson. No, I did not watch. her master class, but I've been meaning to. I've gone through a lot. I've gone through writing master classes, acting master classes.
Oh, did you do Samuel Jackson one?
I did Samuel
I
L.
love that
Jackson.
one.
Yeah, it was very good. Yeah, it's kind of a blur. Like, I stayed really busy during 2020, and I could tell you, if I had my calendar in front of me, if I could like swipe over to my calendar, I could tell you exactly what I've been doing since last March, but off the top of my head, it's just all a blur, you know. When the pandemic started, what I actually tried to do was, I knew that whether it was going to be like a month, we all had high hopes that it was only going to last a month or 2 months, but I had the hopes that it wouldn't last too long. But I knew when it started that I had to get very organized with my schedule if I was going to fill the time wisely, you know. And you know, no disrespect for people who've been just taking time off and doing self-care, but I knew that there was going to be a lot of things that I wanted to accomplish during that time. And one of those things was to reach out and make sure that my friends were okay, and if anyone needed help or grocery shopping done for them or anything, that I could be there for them. But I knew there was a whole bunch of things I want to accomplish, and I would only do that if I leaned heavily into my calendar. So I started, and I've always been a calendar and schedule-oriented person. So I leaned really heavily into it, and I planned out a whole bunch of things that I wanted to do, a bunch of different online classes. I took some coding classes, Python, Java, R.
So cool.
Yeah, and then from different universities all over the place. And then I also took some drawing classes. I've been taking online acting classes, coachings, and then digital illustrating and animation classes, which helped me start my vlog. And I've been writing a lot, and I've been doing my charity online self-defense classes. I've been doing those once a month. Well, I did those once a month in 2020, and for those of you who don't know, I've been doing a charity self-defense seminar for a couple years, a women's only self-defense seminar, and an LGBTQ plus inclusive self-defense seminar. And when the pandemic hit, I had to shift those online. So instead of doing like a full day seminar workshop, I was doing a 1 hour overview. And that's one of the things that I want to continue. So there's like a whole bunch of things that I wanted to do, and I started leaning heavily into my schedule to do it. And yeah, so I went through a bunch of classes, a bunch of skill workshops, I'm still practicing my drawing. I do piano practice a little bit every day. Yeah, and I've been doing so much. But again, they all tend to blur together. All the things that I've done kind of blur together.
And then you also threw in some free workouts, and you just kept working out. Like,
yeah.
Guys, here's how we should get moving. I'm like, oh my God. So on top of everything, you're just throwing it. You're just always so generous with your time. I'm thinking, I don't know if I should be talking because you have piano to get to right now, but I appreciate this.
No, this is just another thing that I was really happy to do when you asked me to do this. I'm like, yes, I'll have a fun conversation and a window chat with Robyn.
Which I can't even use my window. It's so sunny. The whole point is just like my blue screen, and it's a window, and I'm like, okay, the sun just hates me every time I do this, so it's fine.
It was great.
Yeah.
The workouts were a lot of fun. So I think we started those in April, and we just a friend of mine reached out to me and said, you know what, Chris, I really miss working out, but I don't have it's really hard to find the motivation. I miss the group camaraderie of the gym. I miss like having a workout buddy. So I got the idea to start doing workouts online and just, you know, streaming them live on Facebook and Instagram half an hour at a time. And they were really well received, and people enjoyed them. And so we did quite a few. I think we got up to, they're not still going. We did eventually end them.
It was like over 70 from what I last remember.
It actually got up to like over 100 and somewhere over 105.
Whoa.
Yeah, we got into the triple digits. And then eventually I just, people stopped doing them because they're like, okay, enough now. And I was just doing them for my friends. It got to the point where I had to decide if I want to go start streaming it for strangers on Twitch or Instagram, and started marketing them to like the whole world, or if I wanted to shut it down. So eventually I just decided to shut it down and go back to doing my workouts by myself. because it was really just something that I wanted to do for my friends. Yeah.
That was really, I mean, it was very generous. I'm like, I didn't have weights. I finally got weights a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, oh yeah, the things that no one could get during a pandemic.
Yeah.
I'm just so generous with your time, and I'm thinking, I don't know. I also like, okay, the person in me worries about liabilities. That being said, I would still do that. But have you had anyone sue you from the video? Is what I like to
No.
I just go there.
No.
I'm thinking like people in the States
No.
sue over everything. So.
I mean, so for me, again, I mean, that's one great thing about just doing it for friends. You don't really have to worry about that. But also, I was insured during that time because I was, I got insurance for my self-defense workshops, and also I was teaching stage combat in high schools. That's another story. But I was teaching stage combat in high school, so I got insurance for anything that I did that was a physical kind of teaching. So I was covered, but at the same time, I did a disclaimer at the beginning of every workshop. I said, hey, just to let you know, I'm not a professional or a certified personal trainer. I'm just a fun guy who likes to share his fun workouts. So if you want to work out with me, that's A-okay. Just a reminder, take breaks if you need to. Just a reminder, if you start to feel any pain or discomfort or dizziness or nausea, stop the workout. Don't keep pushing. Okay. Yeah, and please don't sue me, you know? So, and like, I feel like you can't, like, as long, like, I gave those disclaimers just, you know, just to be upfront about who I was and what I was offering, not so much because I was afraid of being sued. I mean, I feel like if you do something that you see online and you get hurt, that's not really on the person that you see, right? Like if you watch it.
Here's the problem. I'm watching way too many legal shows that I am like obsessed with them. I don't know why. There's something about the power of the courtroom, and everyone's getting sued over everything.
Really?
Oh God. Okay.
That's really scary.
I won't do anything. But then I think, okay, no, I'm going to. I'm inspired. Well, okay, so you haven't gotten sued. That's good.
No.
But did you have, okay, so I don't know if everyone knows this about you, that you played, I thought you played Rocky. Am I incorrect in saying that?
I was in Rocky. I did not play the character of Rocky.
Okay. Well, you were very in shape. So did you use those like Rocky-inspired workouts?
So when we did Rocky, I played Apollo Creed, who is the antagonist. He's the heavyweight champion of the world. And and the person who played Rocky, Alex Kelly, great guy, fantastic performer.
Oh my God. As I said that, I'm like, of course I know Rocky. What am I saying? I'm going to go cry in shame after this? Yep. I'm like, I actually could not picture Sylvester Stallone for a brief second. I'm like, no, Robyn, he didn't play it. Maybe they were very progressive with their casting. I don't know.
I mean, one day.
Maybe they did a role reversal and they're like, yes, this is Christian. Okay. So yes, Apollo Creed
this is my time. Yeah, I was playing Apollo Creed, and it was a lot of fun, and it was directed by Alex Moustakis, and it just opened up my world to a whole new level of performance working with them at Drayton.
Oh yeah.
And it was such a great time, but they kind of left it up to us to stay in shape. That was one of the things that we had to do. So we were doing, 1 or 2 shows a day, but me and Alex Kelly, who played Rocky, we were going to the gym every morning and just working out nonstop. So that was our day. We would work out, do 2 shows, relax, and then repeat the next day. And we had we were doing it every morning. And because we got a discount at the local gym in the towns that we were performing. So we performed Rocky in Cambridge, and then we did it at Grand Bend during the summer, which was so much fun. Being in Grand Bend in the summer is so much fun because it's the summertime at the beach. You can't beat it. But yeah, like when we got there, we were also just every morning in the gym. Wake up early, go to the gym, work out, and it was great because I like to stay in shape. I've always been a fitness inclined kind of person, but I've never had a gym membership. I always just do it at home. I do body weight stuff, and I jog to the park, and I work out there, and it's a lot of fun. But I've never had a gym membership, so this is the only time, and it made working out a lot easier. Like getting in shape is having specific workout goals is a lot easier when you have all the machines. It's true. You can't deny that. But because I was working out with all the machines, it's not something that I can include in my home workouts when I was doing the online workout videos, because not everyone's going to have those machines, and I definitely don't. I have like a couple weights, and that's about it. But I got to say, one of the best parts about going to the gym every morning is you get to interact with the people in the city. And because we were the biggest things happening in these small towns, we would get noticed. And because I was one of the only black people in these towns at the time, I was very, very noticeable.
Grand
People would
Bend
notice
is
me first.
a very large black population.
Yeah, it's so many black people. No, and then Cambridge, yeah. It's a very large seniors population, and you know, I never felt out of place, but I was a very visible minority. And so when I went to the gym in the morning, people would recognize me, and then they would see Alex, like, oh, it's the guys. And so they would come up and talk to us, and they would make jokes. And a lot of people don't remember the first run, because our audiences were always a little bit older in Cambridge, so they had all seen Rocky, like that. They had grown up with Rocky, Rocky 1, Rocky 2, Rocky 3, all the Rocky movies. But I feel like some of them forgot the first Rocky movie, and they forgot the fact that Rocky doesn't win the first movie.
I forgot. Now you spoiled it. I actually did.
Yeah. Yeah, no one ever remembers that, because Rocky's a pretty old movie. But people don't remember that he doesn't win in the first story. He doesn't win. The heavyweight champion of the world still remains the heavyweight champion. And so it ends with this phenomenal boxing fight. And we had a great fight director and a great fight captain, and the whole show ends with this just phenomenal on-stage big ring, like a full boxing ring on stage, just 15-minute boxing fight. And I don't know if I'll ever see something with that specific kind of spectacle ever again, let alone get to participate in it, fingers crossed. But so Rocky loses the fight. He accomplishes what he wants, but he doesn't win the fight. And so when I go to the gyms in the morning and people who have seen the show come up to me like, can't you just let him win? Like, why can't you just let him win? And like, I want to believe they're joking, but
they're probably not.
Sometimes I feel like, just let him win. Like, I'm coming to see the show again. Can you just let him win this time? And I'm just like, mate, you know, I'll try. You know, you don't know what to say.
They're asking you to throw the wait, did you take bribes? Is this a thing we have to do?
Hey, shout out to Tactics.
Okay, you know, yeah, it is Apollo. This is a big, the punching sign too.
Yeah.
Wait, so did they cast you because you have stage combat as well? I know you're very talented, but was that a factor?
That was a big factor. Okay. A friend, they had already gone through auditions, and there's a lot of talented people who could sing, dance, and act in Toronto and the GTA and around Ontario and Canada, but they couldn't find someone who was available at the time who could sing, dance, and act, was the right ethnicity for Apollo Creed, and also had a ton of stage combat experience. So for me, that was a big factor in getting hired for the role. A friend of mine, Kelly Holliff, she actually recommended me to Alex Bistakis because they were getting ready to start. Yeah. They were getting ready to, I think they were starting to look in the States to bring someone up from the States to do this role, because they really couldn't find anyone. Anyone that maybe could have fit the bill in Canada was either busy or couldn't do as much stage combat, the proper amount of stage combat. So I think they were starting to look in the States, and then Kelly, who's been a friend and a performer with Drayton for forever, said, hey, I know this guy, Chris James, and he could probably do it. So she texted me. She's like, hey, would you be interested in auditioning for this thing? And I said, yeah, sure. And I sent in a quick self-tape of who I was, and then I went up to Cambridge and had a meeting with Alex, and we did a reading, and he sent me the offer, and I was all of a sudden an equity member. That was how I got into equity. Cool. So yeah. 2019 was a great year for me. I got into equity and ACTRA in the same year, so it was just, it all happened all at once, and I was very, very grateful, and I still am. It was a great year.
It's so funny because I knew you did the stage combat. I knew you were doing your behind the scenes, and then I see you get this lead. I'm like, what can this guy do? I'm like, how? And
I do a lot of things.
it's nuts though. It's also, did they make, I didn't have the chance to see it. I'm also really bad at seeing people's shows. So even if I had the chance, probably wouldn't have, but now I do want to see it. I'm curious when, when they do it again and you're Apollo, but
I would love to do it again.
what is the music? What is the, like, I'm going to beat you. Da, da, da.
That is, I mean, that's the same question that everyone had. Because when I told people I was doing Rocky at Drayton, like, oh, you're doing Rocky Horror? That's amazing. Who are you playing? Yes. I'm like, no, not Rocky Horror, Rocky Balboa, like the boxer. They're like, they made that into a musical? And I'm like, yeah. And, it's hard to fathom turning that story into a musical. But when we did our first read-throughs and sing-throughs, and we had Jamie Armstrong playing Adrian. I was Apollo. Yeah, we had just such a great cast, and when we finally went through the music, it was really great. Like I expected the music to be, good enough to be on stage, but some of the music was just fantastic. I had some friends come and see me, and there's this song that Adrian sings called "I'm Done," and a bunch of my friends said, "Yeah, that's going to be my new audition song." Like, it's just such a great song, and they turned they turned "Eye of the Tiger" into a great musical showstopper.
Can you imagine they said no to "Eye of the Tiger"?
Yeah, we're not putting that in.
Disregard the most iconic song.
Yeah, and and there was the Rocky theme song. Dun, 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 dun. That was put in. They didn't make that into a song, but when that theme music comes on at the end of the show, when Rocky starts to fight back and really starts swinging, the crowd just goes nuts. They're just all excited, and then when I win, they're very confused and upset, and there's some of the people in the audience going, "Oh, that's right, he doesn't win." But no, they all, everyone is just. There were very few nights where we didn't get a standing ovation, because I don't know. It's hard to say. You can't even say that. I can't even say that our standing ovations were because the musical was such a great musical. I mean, I think the musical was great. It was a lot of fun to do. I think our cast was phenomenal, but the standing ovations, I think, had a lot to do with the fact that we had that heightened sense of accomplishment at the end, because we put a boxing match and the culmination of everything Rocky has been working towards. And even though he doesn't win, he still accomplishes what he set out to do. And because of that sense of accomplishment at the end, and you see him struggle and fight all the way to the last second, and then bows. So I think that was a major component of the standing ovations that we got every day and every night, because you can't watch Rocky struggle and fight the heavyweight champion of the world, and make it through to the end and accomplish what he wants to set out to accomplish, and not stand up and cheer for him. You can't not.
I'm picturing, did you ever get booed? Because you're technically the bad guy.
I got booed a lot, yeah, especially, yeah, because, they allowed people, so when I enter the ring, I enter from the house, right, for the final matchup, I enter from the house to come fight Rocky, and there were several times where people booed me on my way in, and they stood up to boo me. And you expect that, because we built that into the show. That's why I entered from the house, so that people could boo me and see me coming. And but there was a couple times where after the show was done and I come out for my bow, there were a couple of people in the front row that would boo me and just be really, really aggressive about it. And you could tell, because I think a lot of these shows you could order a drink or two at intermission. So there are a couple of people who had a drink or two at intermission, and when I come out for my bow, they're booing me very aggressively. And I want to be that the show's done, right? I'm no longer Apollo Creed. You're just booing me as a person now. You just roll with it. You just bow, and you're okay.
It's a testament to how well you played the bad guy. And apparently, let's say shout out, you killed it as Apollo. Phenomenal show. Nice.
It was good. It was a lot of fun. I'm just glad no one threw anything at me.
Oh,
That's my big, yeah.
I mean, that would be expected in Rocky Horror, but not in Rocky. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they like come with that's still. I think the closest experience I've had to experiencing the Rocky Horror Picture Show is when I saw they did it at the Hart House, like Jenny Walls, Chris Ritchie, they all did it, and the crowd was so into it. But otherwise, the productions I've been in, they're just like a subtle crowd, and you know those. What do we expect? We'll see Rocky Horror Picture Show for the first time ever, and they don't know what to expect, and then they leave and they go, "Oh God, that was a lot."
I actually did Rocky Horror way back in the day, in the late 2000s. I want to say 2000, somewhere between 2007 and 2009, and I played Rocky. I played Rocky in that Rocky.
That was the confusion. There you go. You played
Rocky.
Okay.
I played that Rocky. I played Rocky in Rocky Horror. I had blonde hair and a very dark tan, and it was fun. But we had a midnight show for those people who knew about Rocky. We had a midnight show. I think it started at 11:30, but like it was a midnight show, and people came with stuff to throw, and people came like knowing all the lines to shout out. So that was a lot of fun. And we actually went because Bloor Cinemas, I think it's Bloor Cinemas downtown. I don't know if they still do it, but they had our Rocky Horror screening once a month for all the people who were in the know, for people who knew what to do at the midnight screenings. So we went to one of those while we were doing Rocky so that we knew what to expect, and just because it was a fun cast thing to do. And we had a great time. But then, so we knew exactly when to expect these beats of people are going to interrupt you, which was so helpful because when we did that midnight show, a lot of people came to play. You know what I mean? A lot of audience members came to play. They wanted to be part of the show, and they knew all the lines to shout at, and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
You know what? It makes a difference though, and that's part of the live theater when you feel the audience is with you, but the problem is when they're very aggressive and they know the lines better than you, and you have an off day, and you're like, oh, yeah, that's what I meant to say. I mean, it's never really happened, but I just picture it for other people.
Yeah.
Do you prefer on camera? Do you prefer stage? Do you just prefer any kind of work? Do you do everything?
I mean, I've done theater ever since I was a kid. From the time, I started really early, but from the time I was 15 to the time I was, I want to say 27, the longest I was out of a show was 2.5 weeks. Oh. I just went from show to show to show. I did a lot of community theater. I did a lot of school theater. In high school, I was always in 3 shows at a time. Then I discovered community theater during high school, but then I continued community theater after. So I've done theater for a long time. I love doing theater. It's so much fun. I would never want to choose between them. But in terms of preference, I love being on set. I love doing film and television, just because you can, there are pros and cons to both, right? With theater, you get to dig into a role and you get to do it over and over and over and over, and you really get to dive into this character and perfect it. But when you go on set, when you're doing film and television, it's variety. It's something new all the time, right? You're not doing the same thing over and over. And while you don't have the same amount of time to perfect a character, I love the variety of it. I love that every day that you could be doing something new. One day you could be doing comedy, the next day you could be doing action, and it's just, and the spectacle that you can create on film with special effects and graphics and sound is just, it's bigger. It's bigger than anything you can do on stage. Stage has its own kind of spectacle, and there are things that you can do there's a spectacle that you can create on stage that won't have the same effect on film and television. Like there's a certain kind of spectacle that you can only receive, and a certain kind of experience that you can only receive with live theater. But the things that you can do on film and television through a screen, it's, especially with the advancement of technology to where it is at present, there's no limits to what we can put on a screen.
Yeah.
There's so many limits to a stage, and those limits are continuing to expand as our technology expands. The limits of what we can do on stage continue to expand, but not as exponentially as what we can do on film and television.
It's hard. I know for me, sometimes I prefer the musicals filmed. So I love Chicago. That's just, I'm working my way through the cell block girls kind of thing. And I'm like, how many times can I do this show? But I love the movie version, and it's different from the theater version, which people don't know. Well, it's a little different, right? In the sense of certain characters, I think, or how they choose to perform it. But I think it's so easy to make those transitions on screen versus here's a lighting switch. But I mean, that being said, it's hard to compare the two, but I also like watching them over and over, and I can't just be like, okay, go back to this part. Live theater, can you rewind? I really like this song or this scene. That'd be great. Let's just do it in reverse. Yeah.
One of the things I really like about film and television over theater is, from the artist standpoint, is that it's much easier to build a body of demonstratable work that you can show to anyone at any time. Because of the rules with MTI, because of the rules with most theater production, I want to say archives, the people who house the royalties for all the theater productions, because of the strict rules, you're not really allowed to film your productions on stage. And I always thought that was a tragedy. Theater, growing up as an actor in the theater, it's one of the only artistic mediums where you don't get to see your work. Like, if you follow the rules, you'll never get to see your work. And I always think that's so backwards. Like, if you're a painter, a sculptor, an actor on film or television, a musician, there's no artistic medium in the world where you don't get to see your own art except live theater. And I think that's just insane. And I think the fact that that's still the rule nowadays is just a travesty. You know, I mean, there are a lot of high schools that film their shows, there are a lot of school productions that film their shows. I think everyone who ever puts on a production is allowed to take like one archival, but, you know, depending on how strict the rules are, sometimes you don't even get to watch that archival. Like, being in the show, you don't even get to watch that archival. I never got to see the production of Rocky, which is, I definitely don't blame any of the production. Everyone's just following the rules. I just think the rules are really, really silly because, again, as a theatrical performer in musical theater or straight plays, depending on the show, unless you created the show, if you're just putting on a production of a show, chances are you'll never get to see it. You'll never get to see your performance. I just think that's such a travesty because it's the only artistic medium in the world where you can't see your show, let alone get a copy of the footage for your reel and demonstrate how good you are to other people, right? So I
so love that you're saying this because that's the biggest, I worked so hard on this show and I just want, I'm just curious, what does it look like? I would love to see the formations that have been choreographed, what's the staging look like from the outside.
Just all of it. Like, if you're lucky, you'll get to see some cast photos, and that's great. I love seeing the photos. But it's always been such a weird thing where it's the only artistic medium where you never get to see your work, ever. It's so weird. And, you know, there are people I know people who have been musical theater performers and stage play performers their whole life and have never once, ever seen a copy of their work, ever. And I think that's crazy.
It's weird because it's also, I love filming or taking pictures of anything because I just forget what's going on in my life. I do, and then I look back, I'm like, oh yeah, this is what I did last year. So when I see clips, I'm like, oh, I created whatever film or something. But I'm like, oh, what theater show? I don't know. I guess I did it. I see a picture, but what accent did I use? Who was with me in the show? Like, what was the staging? Right. And it's so we're gonna start something. We're putting it out there in the universe. Let us film our shows.
Yeah.
Let us
film our shows.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
I mean, we don't have to, you know, I understand that, you know, the rules there because they don't want people to sell their own sell copies of their own production of a show, no matter how good it is. And I'm like, that makes sense. Yeah. But you should allow them to make copies for their cast members and, you know, be able to like edit out their little section so that they can make a demo reel, because
that makes me laugh.
it's
That
the
I don't sell anything for profit. Half the things I've been in, I'm like, I'm not selling this one. Nope, I'm just gonna take the parts that I enjoyed being in.
I don't think I've ever been in a show where I wasn't like super proud of the outcome. Because especially with CYP, I grew up doing City Youth Players, Markham Youth Theater, Unionville Theater Company, and like we always, especially with City Youth Players, I've done so, you know, back in the day with
their Addams Family. Oh, such a proud moment. I'm so glad I got to see that. They're great. But what did you do? Did you actually act with them?
Yeah, I did. When I came out of university, I did. That's when I met Megan and Wayne, discovered City Youth Players. And the first one we did was The Wiz, and then we did what, as far as I know, was the first ever staged version of High School Musical. I think we were the first ones ever to put High School Musical on stage, as far as I know, because I looked around and I couldn't find any record of anyone else putting it on stage before we did. So we did that version of High School Musical for community theater. For community theater. So we did that, and then what was the next one? I did Chicago with them. I did Once on This Island, we did Once on This Island twice with them. Once kind of as an in concert, as a charitable, like a charity fundraiser. I think that's all the shows I did with them, and then I choreographed a number of years for characters as well. So that was a lot of fun.
I love that they're still around. That was my childhood, was characters, and like even before Megan and Wayne came around, I'm like with Shari and everyone, and I'm like, and then they're still there, and then when you go back and I look and
still
I thought
going.
it was so much bigger, and then I'm like, oh no, I was just shorter. And
I was just shorter.
It was so weird. And again, they would do certain things, right? And I get that too. But it was so odd being the adult. And I'm thinking, oh God, I'm the adult now? What is happening?
Yeah, that's never a fun feeling.
I guess I have kids now. I guess I'm the parent. Okay. All right. I don't know what to do with that. I never, that being said, I think I've been playing a mom since I've been 25. So that's just, I give off a mom vibe, which is ironic because I'm not a mom. And I like to teach kids tough love. I just lay it out. Yeah. Like, this is, guys, we're not doing any kind of baby talk. And this is how life is at the age of 3. I'm a really good aunt. Really hardcore.
I can see with your nieces and nephews. Do you have a job yet? No? Get a job.
Like, what's going on? Why aren't you working, contributing in society? It's great.
Yeah. Get a job. Freeloaders. God. I think just because you're short. Unbelievable. When I was your age, I had 2 jobs.
Back in my day.
Yeah.
Gets very okay.
I remember the first time I ever used that phrase, back in my day, and then I cringed after. I'm like, yeah.
Oh, I've been.
But you know, it's a fun run.
Like all the time when I'm in my teens. Back in my day.
Back in my day. That's the key. You got to start saying it early. You got to start saying it as a child so that it feels normal, no matter when you say it in your life.
But it's actually really weird, because now I think when I see people doing school online, I'm thinking, back in my day, we didn't have these computers. Like
oh my gosh, yeah. Smartphones? I didn't have a smartphone when I was in elementary school. It's crazy. It's crazy to me.
Ridiculous. It's just a totally different way to go to school and function as a child. I don't think I'd survive childhood. I don't think my teen years would be successful at all. I mean, they weren't successful, but they would be even worse.
Yeah. I mean, how do you get asked a question in class now and not have the answer if you can ask Google at any given time? Anyone who doesn't have the answer at this point, like, I don't even understand how that works. I've actually been teaching in high schools for a while. Every time I go back to a high school now, it's just such a weird kind of vibe when you see how the climate has changed and how everyone has a smartphone and everyone can look up anything at the drop of the dime. But like, it also hasn't changed much. It's a weird juxtaposition with the old and the new. I was teaching stage combat for a while. After I went through Rapier Wit. I did my beginner, my intermediate, and advanced with Fight Directors Canada at Rapier Wit. And then, because I enjoyed it so much, and it made me a better actor, not only because I could do, I've been a martial artist for a while, but now, you know, doing stage combat, it teaches you to do a variety of things safely, a variety of fight techniques safely, a variety of weapons safely, and it's fantastic for that. But also, it teaches you to be very grounded in a physical performance. You know, it helps far and further beyond just fighting on stage or fighting on film and television. So I fell in love with it, and I kept doing it. And I still go back to do the drop-ins on Mondays and Fridays, or I did before the pandemic. And I plan to go back because I plan to do it forever. But once I had done it and I invested the time and energy and money into going through the basic, intermediate, and advanced courses, I decided I should do something with it. So what I did was I emailed every high school in Ontario and I said, hey, would you like someone to come in and teach a 2-day seminar as part of your drama program? And it took me weeks to get through every high school in Ontario, but I finally got through it, and I got quite a bit of responses. So at the beginning of 2020, that's when I started doing this. From February to the end of June, I had schools booked, at least one school every week. And I was traveling all over Ontario, and I got through 5 schools, and I was somewhere out east, close to Ottawa, when the pandemic hit, and then I had to go home, and we all started isolating, and everything shut down. But I had just started this brand new big initiative, and it got shut down. But I was loving being in schools and teaching because it really gave me insight into like the mentality of the teens nowadays, how they talk to each other, how they relate to each other, how they relate to their education. It's just, like I said, it's a whole bunch of new mixed with a whole bunch of old smushed together, and it was just fascinating to watch. Like at some points I would just like, I'd be watching, like when I gave them something to do and then I would watch them, just the way they talk to each other is all sorts of different, it's so hard to explain. It was different but also similar. The sentiments that they were expressing to each other and their worries and their fears and their hopes and their dreams that they were expressing to each other were the same, but the way they express it to each other now is just so much different in terms of how they choose to show respect to each other, how they choose to show respect to their instructors, their teachers, how they relate to the work that they have to do in front of them. It's hard to explain, but it is a spectacle worth watching. It's truly amazing.
Just kind of study them and go in. Is he teaching or is he staring at us now?
Yeah, I felt like Jane Goodall among the apes, you know, just watching. Yeah, I think that's her name. Yeah.
I know who you mean. I'm really struggling with names today, so I'm going to take you at your word. But it is interesting because I agree. I went to, back when my job history, whatever, but I was teaching with Good Life. Like I was a group fitness instructor, and then they had this child fitness coach. So you go into the schools and you teach kids fitness. And what was so interesting, first off, I don't know if you've ever taught grade 4, grade 5 students fitness. They do not know what push-ups are, but their version of a push-up or a lunge or a squat is adorable. And they're so confident with it. And you just watch them, you're like, you know what? Maybe I've been doing lunges wrong. Maybe that's on me. They're just
I know what that is, and they just do it with confidence.
But what I found is everyone is doing yoga. The guys, the girl, I'm like, whoa, this is progressive. I was with my mom every day. I'm thinking, whoa, this is a cool little health shift. And then I had to get brushed up on my yoga for that. But it's just, it's so, I love the trends. I love seeing and even as kids, I'm thinking, oh God, is this what gym was? Probably. Just run around in a circle, play dance freeze. It's fine. Yeah.
Even like especially the gender dynamics. The gender dynamics are the number one thing that you see that has changed. Like how, when I was in theater in high school, I was like I was always one of a few guys in the class. And our school was very progressive. Like we had 1 or 2 guys, but when I would go to watch the theater productions from other schools, it was just all girls. And then now not only are there more guys taking theater and taking the arts in the high schools, but also, you know, the way they view it themselves in and amongst themselves, the dynamics of how they see it. Like I got made fun of for being in theater, for, you know, and even just doing music. Like everyone has to do a music elective when they start high school, but even I continued musical all the way, choir, violin, in theater, and I was
violin. Violin is hard. Oh my god.
Yeah, I played violin all throughout junior high and high school, and then also I was in an a cappella barbershop quartet. So I got teased a lot, especially since I didn't come from like a very affluent neighborhood. So these are things that you just got teased for. But like nowadays, like I don't see that same kind of dynamic, you know, even though I'm just in the drama class, so I don't see how people outside of drama view them. Just walking through the halls, hearing them relate, like on my way out of the school, when they're talking to their friends, I see the same people from the drama class talking to their friends and just listening to them on my way out. The way that it's talked about, the way that, you know, arts are celebrated now, it's just so much different. And how, like, there's a lot less shame for guys doing the arts. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it's really beautiful to see. It really is.
And I also wonder too, how many people can now pursue what they wanted to do and how many people didn't pursue it because they were getting made fun of. So it is nice to be able to do what you want to do. It's very, it's not progress. It's just, I don't know, nice. That's a terrible adjective, but it's nice. Whatever. It's cool.
Yeah. It's heartwarming, and it's heartwarming to see how far we've progressed, because honestly, I mean, you know, in the 90s, you know, our parents are like, yeah, the arts are fun. Yeah, like there were a lot of parents who were like, the arts are fun, but you need to like earn a living. And no one foresaw like YouTube. Yeah. No one foresaw the influence that the internet was going to have on arts and culture, and how easy it would be to create your own content. No one foresaw smartphones and YouTube. When you put those two things together, and like TikTok and Snapchat, no one realized how easy it would be to create art. And even if you didn't make it your career, no one foresaw how easy it would be to still be a big part of your life. And for those of us for those that came before us, for those of us, and for those that made it easier for us to pave the way for a young generation to take an interest in the arts, to the point where they can flood the internet with as much art as there is, you know.
Yeah, I'm thinking we were pioneers. Impressive. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, we pioneers.
You're welcome, generations.
Yeah. Because if every kid in the 80s and 90s and 70s, I feel like more so in the 80s and 90s, because I feel like the artistic revolutions in the 60s and 70s, art was like a huge thing. Mm-hmm. You could decide to be a photographer and live forever on the wages of a photographer, even if you weren't even very well known, right? Nowadays, that's a little harder because the market is oversaturated with photographers and everyone has a fantastic camera on their phone. But like in the 80s and 90s, that's when like it started to become all about like, you know, business, you know, what can you do in business? What can you like, the cost of living started to explode. And, you know, people were teaching their kids like art is great, but you got to earn a living. And I think if every child who heard that from a parent or a teacher or an authority figure, if every child who heard that had just listened and stopped and forgot about the arts, we wouldn't have Netflix today. You know, it would have been such. We would have had just this large absence of art. Mm-hmm. You know, so
thanks for pushing through and defying the parents.
Yeah, thank you to all the artists out there.
It's a footloose. Okay.
Yeah, it was a massive footloose situation, and I used to. I remember so there was a time where I was acting all the time, but there was before a certain time, I never thought I could actually make a living as an actor. There was a time where I just thought I was going to do my video production company forever, and that was going to be my life. And but I still had a ton of friends who were acting, singing, dancing, and you know, trying to make the arts their living. And I would go to their open mics, and I remember I went to this open cabaret where I was asked to do a duet with someone, and I said, I made this joke about like, I just admire and hate all of you because you have the courage that I don't, to go out like to, I said it in some form of a joke, right? Like, I admire and hate all of you because you have the courage to continue with the arts while people like me who gave up early. So
you came back to it.
I came back to it though, yeah. But there's part of me that I wish I had never stopped. Like I've always been doing something artsy here and there, but like before I stopped acting, I did a children's theater tour for 3 years, and that was my first ever stint as a professional performer. And when I did that, and then I stopped, I was like, okay, that's it for me. I'm not going to try and make a living at performing ever again. And then I focused on my video production company, which is great. I love my company, but I missed acting so much. And so when I came back to it, I decided never to leave it again. We reconnected, and we're together for life. Me and performance are going to be together for life. So that's where I'm at now.
I love it. And and then you're animating too. So you're just decided to continue. So you animated those videos that I watched? You animate
I did.
What?
A little character.
Okay,
I drew him in Photoshop, and then I animated him, and
well,
I could always do.
I recognized your voice, so I'm like, okay, yeah, he's fine. But I didn't know you drew. You just wake up, I'm gonna code, and then I'm gonna draw, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, as I realized the pandemic was gonna keep going and keep going and keep going, I was like, you know what? There are things I've always wanted to do. Now's the time to learn. I have all the time in the world. So I just did. I put them in my schedule. So my series on organization and self-promotion for artists and entrepreneurs touches on this. And it's about 4 episodes in now. I have 9 planned for the series. But it touches on that. Like, we all have these ideas that are so grand and big, and a lot of time that when we don't follow through on these big things is because we have this huge idea but don't know where to start. And so I talk about how to break up a big idea into chunks and then put those smaller chunks into your schedule and actually start to do them. And so that's what I did. I took these big ideas that I wanted to do, and I broke them up into manageable chunks, and then I took one chunk at a time and put it in my calendar. And then I did them. And if I felt myself getting too overwhelmed at a chunk, I would take that chunk and break it into smaller chunks, and then do them, and then spread them out so I didn't get overwhelmed. That's what I've always professed the benefits of having a calendar, especially a digital calendar and a digital to-do list. But one of the greatest things about it is it's so helpful not only to your progress and to your motivation, but also your mental health. When you're getting overwhelmed by something, you can see it visually, see the task visually, and then break it into smaller chunks and then spread it out, and then it just becomes so much easier to do. And I've always found that doing that visually is just so conducive to good to progress and good mental health.
I love that you actually, because this is what I tell people to do, or when someone's coming to me like, this is what, and then that's what I've heard I should do, but I don't do it. It's like you're like, okay, this is what you do, and I actually do it, and I'm very successful, and I've done all this, and this is all I've accomplished. I'm like, oh, if I would have done the chunks and like I probably could have done a lot more. But it's so you figured out how to get out of your own way, and that's amazing, because I always find that I'm my worst enemy, which is very healthy. But I'm the one standing in my way all the time, and you're just like, I figured this out. This is what I do, and I'm gonna share it, and I love it.
Yeah, I figured it out. I shared it, and I've been helping people individually. Like every now and then, I'll put out like a post. Like, does anyone need help with anything? Does anyone need to help organizing their goals of their life or anything like that?
Oh, you did something recently. Yeah. I'm like, this guy is so nice.
And I do that, so I've done it individually. Like I'll do a Zoom call, and then I'll remote access their computer, and I'll set it all up for them. I'm like, and then they'll do it for a while, and then I'll check in with them, and I'll say, are you getting overwhelmed? Is it hard? Like, yeah, I'm having some issues. And then I look at their calendar, I'm like, okay, so you've put some very big things into your calendar. Your calendar is very ambitious. I've noticed some trends here that you're not scheduling in free time. And that's the thing. A lot of people, when they first start going at their calendar and organizing their time, they get very ambitious. It's the same thing I did when I started. Everyone's ambitious. I'm going to do all this work, and then they burn out fast, and then they never look at their calendar ever again. Like, no, it didn't work for me.
My pandemic life.
Yeah. And I'm like, it might not have worked for you at first, but that just means it needs to be reworked. You just need to try it again and make these alterations. And then for the people that stick with it, they're like, yeah, they're a year in and they're like, yeah, I'm getting so much done, but I had to learn to scale back, and I had to learn to accept how many spoons I had in a day, how much energy I had in the day, how much physical energy, how much emotional energy, how much mental energy that I had in a day, and seeing it visually and marking down when I got burned out. You know, people would put their own spin on it. People would like, yeah, I if I felt burned out, I would write it into my calendar and say, this is when I got burned out. And then I could consistently see, and something that I didn't even think of doing, they could consistently see how much creativity they could fit in a day before they got mentally burned out, how much physical activity they could fit in a day before they got burned out. And that helped them in their planning stages exponentially. And since they got better at planning and organizing their time, they accomplished way more than than the alternative of let's just see if I feel like doing something today, and if I do, what do I feel like doing? And they look at a big task and they're like, well, that seems too big. I'm not going to do that. I'll just do this other thing. But in the to-do list, I'm
laughing just because everything you're saying is what I'm doing right now. That's why I'm not like, I love everything that you're saying.
Yeah,
it's that's why I'm struggling a bit. Cool.
And I don't, again, like the goal is never to shame people who go at their own pace. Never to shame people who aren't ready to try this yet, right? Or people who have tried it and felt like it didn't work for them. The goal is never to make people feel bad for the way that they're
I don't feel like you're Jewish. You'll see me. It's all good. It's fine. That is hardcore. You're fine.
Yeah, you're fine. It's fine. No, I just feel like I've always felt like if anyone gave it a shot, and it was really an idea that I came up with for my right brain friend, my creative friends, right? Because my right brain friends, my creatives, they're the ones who always seem to have the most trouble out of the collections of my friends. They're the ones who always seem to have trouble organizing their time and chunking it out meticulously. And for those of my friends who I've helped with this and they've stayed with it, it's changed their life exponentially. It's just changed their life. And I always encourage people, start small, create your calendar, and you want to use it as a planner, but also a journal. You want to put in the things that you have done, right? Even if you have to change, even if you didn't accomplish anything, like today's Wednesday, if yesterday I didn't accomplish any of the things I set out to do, I changed the day, I erase all the things that I wanted to do that I didn't do in my calendar, and I show what I actually did. And then, if there are days where I didn't schedule anything and then I, spontaneously did this and that, I put that in my calendar too. It's a great way, like you said, to remember your life, right? It's a great way to remember your life.
I literally use my calendar as a journal where I'm like, what did I do today? Cool. And then I just write it out. That's what I use it for. I'm like, versus it's just easy. Type it in. I'm like, cool. Yeah. But I never break it into the chunks where I don't make it the realistic ones. When you make the SMART goals and is it measurable or realistic? No, never is. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, well, didn't do anything, and I'm just gonna watch TV.
Yeah. It does. It works both ways. It works as a planner and a journal, and the journaling will help you plan.
That's true.
Right? The journaling will help you plan. And if you're journaling your week, and you get to the end of the week and you just feel burned out, and then you look at your week and you're like, oh, I went to bed at erratic, like my bedtimes were all erratic during the week, and I spent a lot of time doing nothing. I spent a lot of time with self-care, but I still feel weird at the end of the week. And I look at my week and I'm like, oh, I didn't socialize at all. Maybe I should intentionally schedule in some socialization. And that's one of the things.
Socializing.
Yeah.
I'm like half joking, half serious.
And that's why I think this is great. It's anything that gets you social and like in a fun and and if you can add some productivity to it, like this is just a really productive social thing that you're doing here, and I just applaud you for it. I think it's fantastic what you're doing right here. It's just fantastic.
Well, but it's in my calendar, and it's
But that is one of the things I did at last March, in March 2020, when we went to the pandemic and I was scheduling out my time. I was being very ambitious with the things that I wanted to do, and I had to scale back just a little bit. But I also was very intentional about scheduling some social time. every night I scheduled in, like every Sunday I would message a bunch of people like, hey, do you want to have a Zoom chat or a video chat this week? And I would schedule Monday to Sunday. I would have one social interaction every day. And I've done that from March of 2020 till today. And you have to be very intentional about it. And that's the part of scheduling where you can be proactive for your mental health. Because I know that during this time of isolation, isolation is what's going to get you. So I was very intentional about scheduling time, making time for friends, and then making time for just me. And I think a proactive approach to your mental health is something that is very important during this time, when you're going to be alone for a long time.
I'm very inspired. I always leave inspired. I'm like, oh God, okay, I gotta go redo my schedule. That's all. That's my goal for today, is just redo a schedule after I share this very helpful video with everyone. But no, this is, oh my God, I love chatting with you. Thanks for agreeing to do this. And also, I apologize because I've been telling everyone it's 20 to 30 minutes and then it turns into an hour because I can't stop talking to people. I just really enjoy chatting.
I mean, I've enjoyed it too, so I don't feel bad about it going long at all.
I never know because I'm like, I love these stories, and then I like, oh, okay, it's been a while. My bad. You have your schedule. I hope you allotted an hour.
Yeah, no, I always budget more time than I need for anything.
You're like Robyn's a talker. It's fine. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, like, nothing that I'm doing can't be moved around. Like, I have my week scheduled out, but there's nothing that's very few things that are time sensitive during a pandemic.
You say that, but no, it's true. It is very true and unfortunate, but yeah. But anyways, I'm really bad at ending these. Thank you so much for chatting. And
thank you.
I love the stories. You're so cool. Keep doing what you're doing. I'll keep tuning in and being creepy. And I like it. Okay. I describe my attentiveness as creepy. Yes. But yes. Okay. Awkward bye. How can I make this more awkward? I don't know. I haven't decided yet. So you like stuff? Okay.
Do you like stuff?
Cheese?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, that was great.
I'm just going to watch and see how long you can do.
Okay.
I'm going to watch you. Awkward. Bye. We can just end it with a wave. Bye.